of people seem shocked by the actions of the cultural Marxist Starmer and his party. They seem shocked that he thinks it's fine to take winter fuel allowances away from pensioners and have people in this country freeze while he sends billions to Ukraine, China, India, while he runs around being the big statesman. People seem shocked by this. But he was always arrogant and he was always authoritarian, as we saw during COVID, when he wanted longer lockdowns and he wanted more draconian measures than the government was doing at the time. But I think, looking at the last few weeks, really, he is going to be the architect of his own downfall. So all we've really got to do is wait. It's like all these cultural Marxists right throughout history. They come for others and then they come for themselves. You live by the sword and you die by the sword, metaphorically speaking. And the riots that we've seen that he's just blamed on the far right, presumably it was the far right in Leeds rioting, setting fire to buses because social services had taken children away after they had concerns about a Romanian family. Presumably that was the far right. Presumably it was the far right rioting, setting fire to property outside Rochdale police station after 3 Muslims had attacked police officers at Manchester Airport, breaking a female officer's nose, and a police officer had, in my opinion, just my opinion, overreacted and kicked one of the criminals in the head. Presumably that was a far right gathering.
There's no point in smashing this fucking shit all up. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But tomorrow I'll tell you boys, if we don't get justice, yeah, these motherfuckers are gonna get it. Stop, please! Stop, please! And let me tell you one thing, the officer that kicked that kid in the head and tried to kill him, when he's not in his uniform and he's out on the street, he's just one of us. So unless you deal with him, we will. I'm telling you we will. We saw you. We know you're in there. Come out, explain yourself. Why has only one officer been suspended? What about the rest of them?
Presumably the guys running round in Southend with machetes, far right, according to Starmer. Now Starmer, Yvette Cooper and co don't recognise any of the underlying problems. They're not bothered. They're not bothered about people fighting hard to keep up a decent standard of living, fighting hard, working hard to keep food on the table when prices are going through the roof, fighting hard to keep the house warm with prices going through the roof due to this net zero scam ideology. It's just ridiculous. They don't care about these things. They don't care about people being concerned about predominantly Muslim grooming gangs raping and using white and Sikh girls basically as prostitutes, and they're acting as their pimps. Starmer don't care about that. Yvette Cooper don't care about that. They don't care about people with different views from us not integrating into society but living at the side of it. I found it interesting the other day. Starmer spent 7 seconds in Southport laying a wreath. Didn't speak to anyone. Didn't offer his condolences to anyone around him. Straight out and straight in. And yet the other day he managed to spend a lot of time in mosques reassuring people of their safety. When we've got Jews in Great Britain who daren't leave the house during these marches, and understandably so. Obviously, people want to keep their national identity. And people say, oh, what's the national identity? Well, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, equal rights for men and women, equal rights for gays and heterosexuals, a land where we respect and acknowledge that people are different and we should all be able to live together without any hatred. But certain communities don't seem to be able to accept that, don't buy into those things, the equality of everyone. And I'll be quite frank, I don't want to live in a country where women are whipped and sometimes stoned to death for being raped. There, I said it. I don't want to live in that sort of country. Apparently, Starmer and Yvette Cooper, it would appear, they think that's perfectly okay. We've seen recently a murderer who killed a lad in Nottingham, stabbed him, released after 6 months because there isn't enough prison space. But we've also seen after these riots that, and there's no excuse for a riot, there's no excuse for violence. What they get out of it, I don't know. The guy setting fire to the bus in Leeds, people in London, I mean, you get the thugs, far right, some of them probably are. Some of them are probably far left. It's anyone with such a low IQ that they think, oh, right, we don't have to work. We can loot a shop that someone's worked hard all their life to build up. You're going to get them. You're also going to get people that just want to have a go at the police. And the way the police are acting recently, some people would have sympathy with them. Because it is a two-tier policing, a two-tier government that we're witnessing. We're witnessing cultural Marxism on the march. So we had these riots, and what really struck me was that the real rioters were left alone, and those people standing at the side of the protest in London, the protest against the stabbing of those 3 young girls, anyone that was just standing there watching, they got nicked. I'd love to know what happened to the 73-year-old woman. I've not been able to find that out. I'd love to know the guy that was pulled out of the crowd and punched to bits by the Metropolitan Police. I wonder if there was ever any inquiry as to why they needed all those police and why he needed to be punched repeatedly when it didn't look like he was putting up any sort of struggle. Well over 100 arrests that looked largely like people who were just there to protest. Not far-right thugs, but grannies and granddads. There was a guy, Stephen Maylan, given 26 months in prison for gesticulating at the police and shouting abuse. 26 months. When there's paedophiles that walk free. When there's murderers that are out after 6 months. And this is Keir Starmer's Britain. It's crazy. It's madness. I think Keir Starmer, if he believes what he's doing is right, is mentally ill. That's my own. And I've got no medical training whatsoever. But that's my own theory. Now we've got this other guy, haven't we? This David Spring, a 61-year-old who police body cam shows shouting along with others, who the F is Allah. We still haven't found out who Alice is yet, have we? Alice? Who the bleep is Alice? But he was apparently singing that. And as far as I'm aware, there are no blasphemy laws in this country. So why was he arrested? I thought maybe they've taken him in under preventing a breach of the peace, but you wouldn't get 18 months for that, would you? But no, apparently it's a violent disorder charge. Now, I've got video footage of him just prior to his arrest, not committing any violent disorder. He's gesticulating at the police. He's calling the police the C word. And the reason he's calling them that is because they've just thrown a woman to the ground really, really roughly. She's probably got injuries. There's no need for that. I've been a police officer, and you don't need 5, 6, 7 officers to throw a 10-stone woman to the ground. Now, those officers need to look at themselves in the mirror because they are cowards. They're just as cowardly as the rioters who are out there abusing the police, throwing things at police, and generally just looking for trouble. They're just as cowardly as the coppers who run away up in Leeds when the Romanis went apeshit banana. So this David Spring, train driver of 42 years, retired, he was abusing the police because he thought they were abusing their powers. Same as most of us that watched that footage thought. The same as other police officers I've spoken to who watched that footage thought. I don't agree with people abusing the police, but according to the Greater London Authority courts, simply swearing at a police officer isn't sufficient reason to make an arrest. So what the judge did was decide his actions constituted violent disorder that encouraged others to engage in violent disorder. I would say that it was the throwing to the ground of the woman that encouraged others to engage in violent disorder. I think if you see any human being treated the way the Metropolitan Police, treated people that night, people that weren't rioting, people that were standing, watching, in protest. Oh, they were in the wrong area. Oh, they were in the wrong area. So that allows them to be punched in the face repeatedly. That's okay. They were in the wrong area. So that allows them to be arrested and assaulted. I can't stand this country anymore. I really, really can't. We've got no moral code. And Starmer's dad, who was a tool maker, has made the biggest tool that I've ever seen. Even worse than Sunak or Cameron or Blair. And that takes some doing. So well done, Mr. Starmer Senior. You are a toolmaker supreme. Now the judge, summing up on David Spring's case, said what you did could, and it seems, did encourage others to engage in disorder. Could, seems, what happened to actual evidence? This is going along the same lines as North Korea and the dreaded Russia. That's not a strong burden of proof. So what we've got is a judge without the evidence sentencing a man based on his own subjective interpretation of the effects of the actions rather than the evidence. Now I think David Spring should have gone to Crown Court, because if you picked any 12 people in the UK, apart from some of these who appear to be totally wacky, who don't know what the difference between a man and a woman is, a bit like Starmer, no wonder he's on their side, who think men should be allowed to take part in women's sport, who think children should be able to change their gender at 4 years old, who think children should start medical procedures to change from one sexual body to another at the age of 11. These sort of lunatics, hopefully, wouldn't make up the body of a citizen's jury. And that's what he should have done, because no one, they might find him rude. They might find his actions, I don't know. It is rudeness, isn't it? It's just lacking respect. Although if you've just seen a woman thrown to the ground, I can understand it to an extent. But they won't find him guilty of anything that warrants the prison term that he's got. Now, Starmer won't face the Islamists.
You fucking with us all! Yeah! We're ready to kill you all!
He won't face the real, probably far right and far left rioters, those that just want to cause damage and want anarchy, those that want to burn mosques. He won't face those. No, he'll pick on the grannies and the granddads and be terribly tough on crime. Knife crime going through the roof. Not going to go. I wonder if those three. I wonder what the sentences are going to be for those three men who attacked the police at Manchester Airport. I wonder if anyone at the Rochdale protest that burnt property. I wonder how if any of those have been arrested. I wonder how many of the 2,000 people, probably a couple of hundred rioting in Leeds, I wonder how many of them have been arrested. I wonder how long their sentences will be. It's going to be interesting. I wonder if, along with a two-tier government and the two-tier policing, I wonder if we'll be seen to have two-tier judiciary as well. If you're white or black and you're British, you get 3 times as long. For community cohesion, of course. Interesting times. But for all you out there who only think you can vote Tory or Labour, and that's got to be the only reason that you voted for this muppet, this cultural Marxist, this Orwellian thug. Remember when he wouldn't get out of the pub during COVID? Landlord wanted him out, so Starmer's heavy put him in his place in his own pub.
That man is not allowed in my pub. No, Lord. I'm not going to physically hurt him. That man... Oi! That's assault. I am not bothering you. I am not bothering him. That man is not allowed in my pub. Get out of my pub. Go on. Get out of my pub. Thank you.
Bring David Cameron back.
That's all he is. He's as bad, in my opinion, as those actually committing this rioting. Now it's a shame because up in Southport, these 3 young girls who died, you know, it's been politicised. Let's remember those young girls, and no matter what the reason that this 17-year-old boy did it, it's knife crime out of control, isn't it? So maybe do something about people like him, Keir, Sir Keir, rather than picking on old men, granddads and granddads who don't like what they're seeing from a police force, a Stasi police force under your orders. Maybe address knife crime with 10-year sentences. Make the place safer. Because I'll tell you one thing, the David Springs of this world are far less dangerous and far less deserving of a prison cell than gang members running around inner city housing estates, knifing each other, and also anyone that gets in the way. Just a little heads up here in case you haven't got the intelligence to work that one out for yourself, or the desire to. Now, if you voted for these, I'm begging you, wake up. Wake up. And if we're allowed to have another vote, and I think that's on a knife edge under this dictator and his mob, if we're allowed, you've got to get away from voting for rosettes. Vote for people in the community and smaller parties who actually care about you. You can always see if a party is right, straight up or not by who funds them, where the money comes from. There's loads of good little parties out there who would really work for the citizens in their communities. There's loads of independents who do the same. It's down to you now. You can either save our children or sentence them to tyranny. Have a good think. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, and please throw the video a like if I haven't depressed you too much. Thank you. Bye for now.